Right.
Good evening.
Ooh, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, it's about to turn into Sunday here in the UK. It's quite cold, and yeah, it's January. And here we go. We're back.
We're back. Yeah, hoping everyone's very well.
Back in the
Had
shack.
a good time. And we're doing an evening show rather than the morning after.
That's right. So yeah, we're always slightly worse for wear, but quite lucid, I think. Yeah, well, another music sharing session, kicking off with a 12-inch single by Tatum, Mensa, Lord and Ranks, and this is gosh, what was it? It was a kind of very sort of 80s influenced contemporary dance track, I guess, with a bit of a broken beat feel. It's definitely got. You knew who one of these people was.
Yeah, Kaidi Tatum. I'm sure he was involved with the whole broken beat thing.
And I think there's some kind of connection with 4 Hero,
which would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, on the 2000 Black label. Yeah, good tune, big, good synth bass.
So, to follow that up, I decided I'd go really obscure and go for a hardly named artist called Michael Jackson. And played, what did I can't remember what I played actually.
You played.
I played Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
You did.
Yeah.
With the incredible percussion.
Incredible percussion on this track. I mean, it's kind of interesting to a record that obviously sold gazillion copies actually, to remind yourself how good it is actually. And over Christmas I listened to quite a lot to Off the Wall and Thriller.
Fantastic album.
Yeah, great album.
Absolutely brilliant.
Production by Quincy Jones.
Yeah, and such great players all over it, of course.
Off the Wall.
Well, I dipped back to 2016 for a track from the Yusef Kamal Black Focus album. In fact, we listened to the track called Strings of Light, which is one of the more up-tempo tunes. Didn't exactly naturally follow Quincy Jones, but probably on the BPM count it was about right.
I think we had a few glitches in the continuities.
Tonight?
Yeah, but we got on a roll. But
we got rolling eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, sadly this band are no longer together.
Oh, really?
Okay. Bit of a fallout, apparently.
Oh, right.
But apparently the UK jazz thing is really taking off in the States. There was a big thing this weekend.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I then went for a kind of late 70s, early 80s film and played a 12-inch social singles is not very exciting one. Actually, but I played the track "Keep Your Body Working" by Clear, the band called Clear, which was who were probably a second string kind of funk into disco band.
I used to think of them as being quite a lot like Slave.
Yeah.
But actually, they sounded more like Brass Construction.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Brass Construction becomes Slave. Yeah, and this is actually the B-side of the A-side's a single called "Next Time Is For Real," which was a big tune for them in the 80s.
Well, we were in 12-inch Cityland, and we had the 12-inch dub remix by Lara Levan of Jeffrey Osborne's "Plain Love." Very unexciting to look at, I think, this. But I haven't even got you can't even see what the middle bit looks like. But a very, really sort of early 80s electro dub production. Sounded great. And obviously George Duke was the producer.
And a lot of his keyboards seem to be left in place on the dub.
Yeah.
Would have been a big tune at the Paradise Garage, that one.
Absolutely. And George Duke was a bit of a feature of today's session.
Yeah, he pops up a few times, actually. So then, from that, still sitting in that late 70s, early 80s, played Yomo Be There, which this is off a best of Michael McDonald record, but of course it was a James Ingram record, and another Quincy Jones production, actually. Classic, kind of, at that time, and I think my sister's favourite record. So hello, Louise, if you're watching this video.
Does she watch this video?
She will do, I'll tell you.
Good. Yeah, well, staying in, obviously, Michael McDonald, also one of the Doobie Brothers. We played Black Water, which is a track I have to say I hadn't listened to since I was about 15. But but I'd read somewhere someone had said what an amazing mix and what an amazing sound, hi-fi sound, and it did sound great. Yeah, the Doobie Brothers, best the Doobie Brothers, Blackwater, with Jeff Skunk Baxter.
Yeah,
amongst others.
And no Michael McDonald on that.
And no Michael McDonald on that track, in fact.
I'm not sure. There was something sound-wise that made me. I think that's got a kind of almost like a Dixieland kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
And there's so I played the first track, Mr. Wiggles, off the Parliament Motor Booty Affair album, which has also been one of my favourite Parliament albums. Kind of late 70s, I think it's from 78 or 79 or something. 78. Oh no, actually, yeah, 78. As you'll probably know if you've watched these videos before, we're both major P-Funk fans here as well. And yeah, kind of great track, very huge amount of stuff going on in all the Parliament records actually. Horn arrangements, kind of backwards vocals, speeded up vocals. Interesting. Yeah, great album. Great picture of George with his ghetto blaster on top of two dolphins inside as well. Can't beat that really.
Well, keeping with the P-Funk vibe, although not a P-Funk track, but second appearance from Mr. George Duke. An album actually that I picked up the last time John was here and we went and DJ'd in the Vinyl Head record shop. Bought this record, and the track is Son of Reach For It, in brackets The Funky Dream, which I have to say was a deeply funky track. It was like P-Funk with solos, really. Really great, actually, amazing sound. With Ndugu on the drums, just sounding exceptionally funky. So yeah.
If you want to see an amazing YouTube video of them, the Reach For It original, actually, not the son of, just put that in, George Duke Reach For It on the search engine, and you'll see an amazing, basically see them recording the track, actually, on YouTube. Curtis Mayfield next up, actually Mother's Son. We have a lot of Curtis on our sessions. This is kind of, I think, third or fourth session in a row we've had Curtis on.
Another album I don't have.
Yeah, great album called Got to Find a Way, which was, I think, again, mid-70s or whatever. And the track Mother's Son, which is, I seem to remember, is Questlove, the drummer in the Roots' favourite track, actually, in terms of drumming stuff.
Really great production.
Yeah, great production.
Really, really sensational. Well, here in the UK, we have a shop called Sounds of the Universe, which is part of the record label Soul Jazz. And they, once you get on their mailing list, they are constantly, tantalisingly bringing up limited release editions of all kinds of stuff, kind of every week. And if you're like me and you actually go and listen to what it is, you end up often buying it. Anyway, 7-inch single, a re-release of the Latin monster sort of fusion funk cut, Latin Strut by Joe Bataan, that actually just gets the party jumping.
It certainly does.
Some fantastic guitar playing, some fantastic wah-wah guitar playing.
Almost hysterical wah-wah guitar
Yeah,
playing.
really, really great stuff. Mono, and sounded great actually.
So to keep the energy level pumped up, went for a track by the Rance Allen group. Rance Allen was a gospel singer. Truth Is Marching On. And this comes from a weird promo kind of album that came out in the UK called Capital Soul Special. Has great tracks from Maze and various other people on here as well. And I bought it because of the Rance Allen track, which is produced by the Mizell brothers, who, again, you'll know are favourites of ours over here. And yeah, kind of great singing. I mean, amazing voice actually. And
incredible voice.
Yeah, I mean, he'd been making gospel tunes through the 50s and 60s, and then kind of got into a more funky vein. So we were going high energy.
Yeah. Now, next album, I have to thank the 6-inch pianist, who was showing his top records of 2017. And shared this incredible re-release, which I knew nothing about. And it's Geraldo Pino and the Heartbeats. And the album is called Let's Have a Party. And we listened to the first track on side 1 called Heavy, Heavy, Heavy. Now this is kind of proper African funk. And apparently this Geraldo Pino was apparently quite influential on Fela Kuti. I think Fela saw the Geraldo Pino band live, and it was quite a sort of transformative event. But this is great. This album's fantastic, and just great to discover something I've never heard before. And they're great pressing, which I found on Bandcamp. So yeah, Geraldo Pino and the Heartbeats.
And it's got initially printed with hundreds of albums, none of which
Yes,
either of us have ever heard.
all of these. They're all coming out of Austria.
Yeah. I recognise one, I think,
Yeah.
out of what must be 100 records on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this could be flavour of the year to come.
Could be.
Stayed kind of slightly more familiar territory with the next track and played Red, Black and Green off the album Red, Black and Green by Roy Ayers Ubiquity, which was one of his, I think, second or third album on Polydor, which came out. Kind of really good, kind of funky.
His
music,
particular blend of funk
Yeah,
and jazz. It's
yeah,
a
which
real
is very distinctive.
Yeah, really.
He also has some pretty extraordinary sideburns on this album.
He
as well.
does. Very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with Roy Ayers, actually.
No, and you can't really go wrong with Bill Withers either.
No.
This is an album I was reminiscing, like picking it up for £1 when I was living in a squat in Holloway Road. Anyway, this is early, probably about 73, I think, Bill Withers album. Absolutely cooking band, James Gadsden. Can't remember who else is playing. But yes, just great songs. John was saying this is the Divorce album.
Yeah.
We listened to the track called You, which is quite a vitriolic torrent of upset with an extremely sort of insistent groove, which is just the whole band locking in, and Bill just sort of double and triple tracked.
It also seems to have about 3 or 4 electric pianos over the
Yeah.
top. Yeah.
Yeah, great album.
Very good record. Mark at the last session showed, is it Fight the Power?
It's called Justments, I should
Adjustments,
say.
yeah.
Adjustments.
Or plus adjustments.
Plus Adjustments.
Mark showed Fight the Power at the last session, saying
Good.
it was his favourite Ayers Brothers record. I think mine might be Go For Your Guns, which is, and I played Footsteps in the Dark, which is, of course, is sampled by Thundercat.
Yeah.
On probably my favourite song of last year, actually, which was, what was it called?
Them Changes.
Them Changes, that's right. Yeah, so Ayers Brothers, just love them, really. I mean, just get them all, actually. I mean, they'll probably all cost about 50
Yeah.
pence or $1 each a go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we were definitely in the flow.
Yeah.
And actually, the thing about that track, the similarity was the band also just sounded as one.
Yeah,
Backing the song.
Yeah.
I think that was the thing.
Yeah.
We were commenting on Ernie Isley, who's really recognised as the Hendrix-inspired guitarist, but also was always the drummer.
Yeah.
And he just plays a really rock solid, minimal groove.
Well, I think there's a whole thing about drummers who aren't drummers, actually.
Yes.
Because Stevie Wonder's a fantastic drummer. as well.
Yes, and
Prince is a great drummer. Yeah.
Yes, we also had a drummer who turned out to also be a pianist later on.
That's right, yeah.
Anyway, that's coming up, folks. But not before we had the Detroit Spinners, or, as they're known in the States, the Spinners.
Yeah.
The Spinners in the UK does not look like this.
No.
Ben Costello can tell us all about the Spinners, I think. Although I'm sure he's not a fan of them. Anyway, these are the all-male vocal 5-piece group with the incredible Philip Wynne on the tenor, and great album, and the classic track Could It Be I'm Falling in Love, and it's all Tom Bell, Linda Creed stuff, if you like those early stylistics albums. More of the same.
Fantastic stuff. Then we had a break, and then we had a long first session, actually.
That
But
was
then
a long session.
after our first break, we came back with George Duke's third appearance of the evening, and played the track Eat the Question off the Grand Wazoo, which was one of the 2 Zappa albums that came out when he was basically laid up after being thrown into an orchestra pit when he played in the UK and breaking his leg and injuring his back and all kinds of stuff. So these are two of his, the Grand Mazoo and Waka Jawaka were two of his more jazzy albums. And this was one of the, this was from George Duke's first tenure with Zappa, and played the track Eat the Question, which has almost got like a heavy metal kind of electric piano introduction to it.
Really nice.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Zappa over the last few weeks over Christmas. I don't know what's brought that on, but I think it might have been...
I think we need him.
We need him, actually.
And what a great guitar player.
Great guitar player. Great, yeah. So this period, one of my favourite periods for Frank, really. And, yeah, the Grand Mazoo.
Well, this next CD is not going to get anyone very excited, as it's a CDR burnt off Prince's... It was a download off Prince's website.
Yeah.
That John gave me a while back. Now, anybody who wants to hear this track, because you probably can't hear it any other way, tune into the radio show, which the link will be under this video. And you can hear opening this show this amazing track called Nagoya, which has a very Zappa-esque guitar solo, strangely enough, or you can see the influence of Zappa on Prince. These are kind of pre-show soundcheck jams recorded, well, sort of in Japan and Denmark by the looks of things. Yeah, very, very funky. Just great, actually.
Which with the band with John Blackwell and Rhonda Johnson.
Is it Rhonda?
Yeah.
Not Larry?
No, it's Rhonda, I think,
Okay.
actually. I think so, anyway, I'm not sure.
I thought it might be Larry with the way he was stepping on that fuzz pedal every now and again.
Maybe. Did we go from that to this? We must have done, I think, actually, unless I got out of order here. Then we moved on to Herbie Hancock, and we moved on to Sextant, and we moved on to the track Hidden Shadows. So this was the last of the Mawandishi albums, which was his band, kind of obviously influenced by Miles to some extent, also influenced by Sun Ra. You could really hear the influence on this track. The band with Benny Maupin and Billy Hart on drums, Buster Williams on bass, Eddie Henderson on trumpet and flugelhorn, and Patrick Gleason, who was
Dr.
Patrick Gleason, who was played Moog synthesizer. Anyway, Sextant, great period. There were three official Mawandishi albums, and also Eddie Henderson and co also put out albums which are pretty much like Mawandishi albums.
Yeah. Really nice. And one of my favourite album covers, I think.
I mean, Mark said this sounds like music from outer space. It really does. It doesn't sound like anything else, really.
No, really. And a deep, deep groove.
Yeah.
Right, the next one also has a very atmospheric vibe to it. It's Terry Ripdale, Miroslav Vitus and Jack DeJohnette, and the classic track called Sunrise, which people get very excited by the sound of Jack DeJohnette's ride cymbal on this, and generally the recording of his drums. But quite a groundbreaking, well, sort of a one-off, because these three didn't play together again, but just a really amazing sound of three musicians just blending sonically and creating incredible sort of complementary soundscapes. Yeah, great. I'm really enjoying Terry Ripdale at the moment.
Big influence on. We have got out of whack, actually.
We have. We've gone a bit.
I don't know what's happened.
Don't know what's happened. Don't worry. Rest assured, it didn't flow in this particular order.
Yeah, something's gone wrong, but this does happen. So anyway, the next track wasn't. In fact, why don't you show your next track and then we're back in order again.
Are we? Okay. Yeah. We missed something.
You missed. Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, Miles Davis, Miles in the Sky, and another track with an amazing drummer. This time, Tony Williams, on the track called Black Comedy, featuring Herbie, Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, and actually George Benson guesting on one track called Paraphernalia. This is just another very sort of progressive piece of music where I think kind of Tony Williams is sort of just driving things and just he's speeding up, he's doubling up, he's going half speed, he's erupting,
dropping bombs in the background.
Yeah, But
Yeah.
amazing. There's a great interview with Ron Carter on the Stereophile website, and for some reason, somehow I ended up, from watching that, listening to this track and listening to Ron's playing on Black Comedy, which is actually masterly to hold that down with Tony Williams exploding all around you. Yeah.
There was an interview with Freddie Hubbard about his playing with the VSOP band, and he said like having Tony Williams playing behind him was like having slapping on the back of the head all the time. That's just when you play. And so keeping with Miles went back a kind of at least a decade, probably even more than that actually, to Michel Legrand's Le Grand Jazz, which was recorded in France, released on CBS, and has kind of amazing range of musicians, including kind of Coltrane, Phil Woods, all kinds of people playing in different combinations on here. But one of the bands features Miles Davis, and he's playing on a version of Round Midnight. A really nice, beautiful solo actually. And Miles is playing on the 3 or 4 tracks he's on is great on here. But the whole album is really nice. I mean, Legrand's a bit like a kind of slightly more straightforward version of Gil Evans in a way in terms of his arranging. Obviously, he wrote a lot of film music as well. But yeah, nice record actually. And this is a I think an original pressing actually. This actually, which probably means it's not worth anything to
Well, following up that was probably one of my albums of 2017, of the new albums, and this is Moses Sumney, and the album is called Aromanticism, which is a bit of a strange title. And yeah, how can I describe this? Very sort of beautiful, multi-layered, mainly falsetto male voice, with very sort of spacious jazz-infused backdrops and some great songs. And we listened to a track called "Make Out in My Car." But I have to say, every track is great, and the pressing is excellent, and I would highly recommend it.
Yeah,
It really sounds fresh and contemporary. I guess maybe a little bit what 2017 sort of sounds like.
If you all buy a copy, you can afford a head.
Indeed.
Then moved on to actually played the wrong track from the next record.
Oh, that was very strange.
Yeah, very nice album called Studio Trieste, which is on CTI, which was Chet Baker, Jim Hall, Hubert Laws, Steve Gadd. It's a great album actually, but I meant to play, well, I can't remember which track I meant to play, but I ended up playing a track called Malaguena off here, which is a kind of Latin influence. It's a nice track actually, but not the one I meant to play, featuring a lot of interesting percussion and some great drumming from Steve Gadd, but also some slightly cheesy keyboard,
very cheesy,
which came in from Jorge Dulto, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I think maybe we did take a break. I don't know.
Yeah, we did.
We must have done, because I can't imagine how we went from that to this. Anyway, we came back. I got the vinyl. I think I was inspired by James Buttery, who I saw had picked up the vinyl of this. Did have this on CD. Still have it on CD. But actually, I kind of thought, well, obviously it was an original analog recording, so it's going to sound better on vinyl, which I think it does. These are outtakes from Terry Reid's River album from the early 70s. And yeah, there's some great stuff. I mean, you know, I love Terry Reid's voice. Pretty much could hear him singing anything. But there's actually some really nice, maybe not quite fully formed songs. And we listened to one called Funny, which also featured some beautiful David Lindley ethereal pedal steel guitar and great drumming from Alan White. Yeah.
David Lindley, who's of course featured a lot in our sessions, playing along with Jackson Browne as well.
Yes.
Quite regularly. So then went to a tribute really to last week, I think it was Rick Hall, who's the guy who started Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals, passed away. I think it was into his 80s, and I won't go into the full story of the recording of the track "I Never Loved a Man" off Aretha Franklin's album, but it's a kind of legendary story I'm sure you can find it online quite easily. But kind of classic track. The track, a lot of people say, kind of changed Aretha, really. Moved away from being a slightly kind of cheesy jazz singer, which he was with Clumber, into being a fully fledged soul artist, really. Great album, great track, amazing kind of introduction by Spooner Oldham on electric piano. Yeah, classic album. Don't need to tell anybody about that one, really.
No. And then we moved to another very great soulful voice of Steve Winwood and Traffic's When the Eagle Flies. The lineup here was Jim Capaldi, Chris Wood, Roscoe G, I think that is, on the bass, and Steve Winwood. This is definitely one of the going and recording in the countryside during that particular patch, and we listened to the track called Graveyard People, which sounded great. Lovely fusion of real playing and some great kind of analogue synth work as well. Very floaty and absorbing music.
Bit of an underestimated album, that. Then we had the second appearance of Jack DeJohnette at the evening, and in fact on this record, which is his band New Directions, I played the track Silver Hollow, which has become a bit of a kind of classic, really. Almost like a standard, been a great version by Bobby Hutcherson and other people as well. And he plays piano on that, and he plays piano very, very well. The band's an unusual band, really. It was just him, John Abercrombie on guitar, which is not unusual, but Lester Bowie on trumpet and Eddie Gomez on bass. It's a great album, this one, actually. They made, I think, 2 albums and toured a lot. I saw them back in the 70s in London, and it was a great band, actually. So, yeah, another ECM.
Another CD, this time the American release of Lewis Taylor's The Lost album, which came out on Hacktone. And for me it was particularly exciting because it has 3 acoustic tracks of earlier Lewis Taylor tunes that I thought were only ever available as bootlegs, but definitely there's a mix that's great. I mean, just beautiful songs, actually. I mean, I still haven't seen anybody else who ever shows Lewis Taylor apart from us.
We're going to carry on showing.
We're going to keep showing him.
Somebody else does.
Yeah, but yeah, great album, The Lost album.
Yeah, which is kind of, most of it's kind of almost slightly proggy, actually. It's very good. And then I moved to a really odd one, actually. Moved to a record called Darn It, which is on Kip Hanrahan's American Clave label. Kip Hanrahan I've talked about before, and I did a whole video actually on my own channel about him a while ago, which was and he's a kind of almost like a kind of film director rather than being a record producer, really, and just assembles these amazing casts of people. This is a tribute to the writer Paul Haynes, who I definitely recommend. If you like interesting poetry and prose, you should definitely pick him up. And played a track called Curtsy, which features one of our favourite artists here, Robert Wyatt, on vocals and percussion and keyboards, and also another one of our favourite artists, who in fact lives in this town, Evan Parker, the saxophonist on soprano saxophone. But this is an amazing record. It's got Derek Bailey on it, it's got John Chakai, Paul Bley, Bobby Previtt, Carla Bley, Jack Bruce, Greg Tate, all kinds of people, Andrew Cyril, all kinds. It's a really interesting record. It's a double CD, and all of the tracks are based on text by Paul Haynes.
Well, we definitely had gone way out of sync, because I can still see a Zappa record down there.
Where?
The one with the moustache on the top.
Oh God, yeah, that's what came in earlier on, wasn't it? that's what's blown us out.
That's what blown us out the bloody water.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to show that one then, John, because it's a classic.
Don't know where it is.
While you are hunting for it, I will show a surprising non-funky Grover Washington album that came out in the 90s, I think. And this was Grover Washington, yeah, sort of like very kind of happening jazz lineup, really. Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, there's Grady Tate and Gerald Veasley. But actually, yeah, Grover really showing his jazz chops and we listened to a Herbie Hancock original called Just Enough, which sounded really good.
So if we rewind, and inside, I can't remember this came after actually. I think it might have, I don't know. At some point
John,
in
I
the
hope
evening.
you're going to put that on now.
No, I'm not going to put the moustache on. At some point in the evening, I played a classic guitar solo. This is not going to show, but
There it is.
There it is. Watermelon and Easter Hay, and played the version from Joe's Garage, from the CD that Zappa's family put out just after he died, which just basically features some amazing guitar solos on it, and artwork and Moustache and Beard by Matt Groening from Simpsons fans who will know who it is. And just been, I've been listening to a lot of Frank Zappa the last week or so. So this was played earlier on in the evening, but I can't remember exactly when. And you can stroke Frank's moustache as well while you're listening to the music.
And wear it.
And wear it if you want to peel it off, but I've never actually wanted to destroy the cover.
No.
So. And the album's called Frank Zappa Plays the Music of Frank Zappa. Can't get any more straightforward than that.
No.
Really.
And then you had another track, John.
And then I had another track, which is the actual last track, which was an ECM CD, which has never been released on vinyl yet, which is a real pity, which is called Angel's Song. I get this in focus somehow or other. And features the Canadian trumpeter Kenny Wheeler, who of course spent most of his time in the UK, along with Lee Konitz on alto saxophone, Dave Holland on bass, and Bill Frisell on guitar. Great record, actually. One of my absolute favourites of Kenny, and one of my favourite ECM records, actually, as well. And the album's called Angel Song. And we played the track called Kind Folk. And it's just a great band, actually.
Beautiful.
And they just sound... I mean, it sounds like the most natural lineup in the world, but of course it's quite odd, really. To
No
have
drums.
No drums, no piano.
No.
And great stuff.
Yes. So, well, thanks for people for watching, for making it through 32 minutes if you have. If you want to hear some of the tunes that we played, have a listen to the radio show on the link underneath.
Yeah.
Subscribe to that. It's every couple of weeks.
Highly recommend it.
If you're in Ramsgate tomorrow, we'll see you at Vinyl Head.
Yeah.
And, be well, everyone.
Am I going to put my Zappa moustache on now?
Are you?
No, I'm not actually. But the world's gone mad, but music, there's always music.
There really is.
Yeah.
So keep sharing, keep spinning the records. See you later.